Hey guys, I am doing my first ever Periscope. I am live from Bhutan. I look like crap because I just hiked to the tiger's nest. I am here in Paro in Bhutan. Um, I'm just finishing up a 10-day trip. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm going to show you my hotel room. I'll walk outside and show you the outside of this hotel in Paro. I'm staying at the Janka Lodge or Janka Resort, which is pretty decent. So how it works when you're booking your trip to Bhutan, it's not like anywhere else. You pay a nightly fee. So it's not like you could come here on a budget. It's not like you could say, oh, I'll skip lunch and save $15 a day. You have to pay $200 to $250 a day, depending, or per night, depending if you are visiting in the low season or the high season. I'm in the low season, so I'm paying $200 per night. And because I'm traveling solo, I have to pay an extra $40 a night. Gets expensive. And you have to pay $40 for a visa. I had to fly from New York City, where I live, to Bangkok, which was $650 round trip. And then I had to book a round trip flight from Bangkok to Bhutan, which was $860. So it's a pretty expensive trip. It's not somewhere that you can travel on a budget, but it is somewhere that you can experience a culture that is pretty well preserved. They haven't had tourism all that long. I think it's been maybe 30 years or so. So, they haven't had a flood of tourists, and because it's a lot harder to get here, it's pretty remote too, aside for being expensive. Um, they don't have McDonald's and KFC everywhere, which is pretty cool. You can get out into the villages and you'll meet people who literally have never even heard of the United States. Like, there's a lot of really interesting things. I've met a lot of artisans who still make paper by hand and still make like handmade or, those backstrapped weaving machines. Still make those kind of handmade garments. I'm doing a homestay tomorrow, so that'll be interesting. I'll hopefully get to help out with the farmers. And another cool thing about Bhutan is that they don't measure their economic success on wealth. Instead, they have a gross national happiness index, which they look at sustainable government, preservation of heritage and culture. So you'll still see people walking around with traditional garments on. For example, my guide wears what's called a go, I think it's how you say it, GHO. It's basically a long robe with a belt. So a lot of people still wear that. It's really interesting. Another thing is they're really focused on preserving the nature. So in their constitution, it says you need to have, or the country needs to have 60% minimum of forest. And right now, I believe they have 72%. That's what my guide said. And there's a lot of really quirky things here. Quirky to me being from the USA, but for example, there's only like 50 names in the whole country. Everyone seems to have the same name. One reason is because when a baby is born, they're taken to the local temple and they're given a name based on the deity of the temple or the founder of the temple, and there are just certain names you can pick from. So my guide's name is Kinley, and he is actually named after a very famous Buddhist master, or Lam, as they call them. He's known as the Divine Madman, but his name is something like Kunli, something like that. When you're in Bhutan, you will see a lot of houses, especially in the village Lobesa that's around this temple for this Divine Madman that I'm talking about. He's known for his penis, or his phallus, because he apparently had the ability to enlarge his phallus and fight demons with it. He also was called the Divine Madman because he had kind of strange ways of spreading the lessons of Buddhism. For example, a local wanted him to bless a tanka wall painting. It's kind of like a spiritual wall hanging. And the Divine Madman peed on it and it turned to gold. He also had sex with a ton of women and got them pregnant in order to spread positive energy. He actually is known for impregnating a local nun. So a lot of interesting things I'm learning here. Also, people here don't know their birthday. They're all born on January 1st because actually I'm not really sure. My guide said something like it makes surveys easier. I might have misunderstood him though. So learning a lot of quirky things, but you'll actually see on the sides of houses, people have phalluses painted all over the exterior, and they'll have wooden phalluses on the roof and above the door, and that's to keep evil away and the demons away. And sometimes the phalluses have eyes, which is for wisdom. So I'm learning a lot about Buddhism here. I'm not a Buddhist, but there are a lot of things in Buddhism that I think are really, like anyone can kind of try to maybe live their life by these principles. One thing is there's 3 poisons that we all are born with: anger, greed, and ignorance. Or I think it's maybe anger, jealousy, and ignorance. And if we try to rid ourselves of these things in our lives, we may reach enlightenment and then maybe nirvana. And whether you believe in nirvana or not, there's kind of no denying that if you do try to rid yourself of these, not great things, then you could at least have a better life on earth. So another lesson is kind of, living in the now instead of dwelling on the past or the future. So, as someone who has dedicated their life to traveling and trying to live their best life, I do think it's a great lesson. So I've been learning a lot of these cool, interesting things. So I'll tell you also a little bit about what I've done so far. My trip started, first of all, the landing. When you fly to Bhutan, there's only I think 10 pilots in the world, something like that, that are licensed to fly into Bhutan because you're literally flying almost touching the mountains. This whole country is just mountains and valleys. And when you're driving on the highways, you're on these skinny little highways that if you make one false move, you're tumbling down. I've biked Bolivia's death road before, and that is nothing compared to the roads here. So anyway, it's so mountainous. So you're almost skimming the mountains and the local homes. Everyone on my plane was giggling and kind of whoa when we were landing. So your adventure begins right away. Our first stop, we went to Thimphu, which is the capital. It's pretty cool. All the buildings all over the country are decorative. You'll always see kind of these Buddhist paintings of lotus flowers and dragons and offering vessels and things like that. And in the capital as well, that's how it is. This is where we did a lot of the artisan touring. We went to the textile museum. I saw a folk heritage museum, which was a 19th century building, 3 stories, with still original artifacts of what a home during that time would have been like. Really cool. And it's cool to know that there are still places where that still exists here. We also went to a handmade paper factory. That was really cool. They use bamboo nets to kind of mush, you have the bark and then you turn it into a mash. You boil it and then you push it down with these bamboo nets, and they were putting chili peppers in the nets to make chili pepper designs and sun drying the paper. So I bought some of that. Actually, I will show you some of the things that I bought if I can easily get them. I should have planned this before. I did buy prayer flags, which they're in a bag still. Basically, these will open up and they kind of hang from a string, and there's mantras on them. My guide's friend sold these to me and said that they had really been blessed by a monk, so I'm hoping that that is really true. I'm assuming it is, but I'm going to let myself believe it is. Let me see if I can quickly... No, that's a tank top. I want to show you my wooden phalluses that I bought. So after Thimphu, everything is a blur. But I did go to Bumtang, it's called, and this is where Buddhism actually started. So we walked from the temple where Buddhism is said to have began in the country, from the beginning, and hiked to this small village. They had a money wall, it was called, and it was full of prayer wheels and rocks with mantras and these things called tatyas. It's TSA, I believe. And basically, it's pretty interesting. They're small clay stupas, and sometimes people actually take their dead loved ones' ashes and mold them into the clay or the mud so that their souls can be kind of released. I'm trying to find these quickly. So that was a big highlight for me on the drive from Thimphu to, it's called Punakha Valley. There's a lot of spiritual stops along the way, so you'll stop at the Punakha Zong. There's a lot of zongs where they're like giant fortresses which hold government functions, and also temples that are amazing. They're huge, so that's been really interesting. Got to visit a few of those. There is a place, so in Buddhism they think there are 108 deities, and deities are actually, from what I understand, demons that were turned Buddhist. And now they look over certain places. And these places often have temples kind of dedicated to these deities and the subduing of them, I'll say, because not all of them are slayed. But so I visited this place that had 108 stupas called the Dochula Pass, but I'm going to actually double check that name. And there's 108 stupas that you can walk around. You're supposed to walk around clockwise 3 times because that gets, it's a sign of respect, and it also kind of swirls or stirs out the bad energy and stirs in the good energy. And that's where you will get a great view of the Eastern Himalayas, which has been awesome. So, does it say the name? Oh, Dachula Pass. Yeah, beautiful. And there's a cafe there, which is nice. I went to this other place that's called Valley of the Blackneck Crane. So blackneck cranes are really rare, and in this valley they're everywhere and super easy to spot. There's a blackneck crane visitor center where they have telescopes, and you can get a really good view of the cranes. So we did like a sunset kind of hike, more of like a long walk through the village, which was really beautiful. So that's been exciting. I'm still on the hunt for these palaces. Just give me a second here. Oh, laundry. I know they're here. I found them. So this is like not, this is a real like thing that is important to the people here, but it kind of, a lot of people elsewhere might think it's a joke. I bought a bunch of these. They're actually palaces. And people have these on their house here, so those eyes are for wisdom. It's pretty interesting. So yeah, Bhutan has been really amazing. I will say one thing, how in the beginning of this video I talked about how Bhutan is expensive. You really shouldn't come here thinking you're going to get like value for food and hotels, because what you're really paying for is the unique experience and the culture and the forest and things like that. So it's been worth it to me. I'm paying, $200 a night plus $40 a night for the single supplement, plus the $40 visa, plus the like $1,500 in flights. So it's the most expensive trip I've ever been on in just 10 days. But it's been so cool to be in this remote, amazing place and learn. You have to have a local guide by law when you come here. So I've just been hanging out with a local the whole time, so it's been cool. So mind the mess, but I just was throwing things everywhere. I'm going to just show you what the typical 3-star hotel is. You can do a 5-star vacation in Bhutan, but you're going to pay like $1,600 a day maybe, or per night. So actually, though, one thing I've been surprised, I was told I wouldn't get any Wi-Fi here, and here I am. So I haven't really had any problems with that. You can get a cheap SIM card too. I paid $10 for 10 days, and I haven't even used half of my credit because I haven't had to. It's been Wi-Fi. And I haven't been too consumed with it because there's other things to be doing when you're on a trip besides just being on Wi-Fi. So start on the inside. Got 2 beds here. Some of the hotels are a little nicer than others. But it's just, super basic room. And, I have a closet here. And just small bathroom. Not too many amenities. For food, there's 3 meals a day. They're huge. You're going to gain weight when you come here because a meal consists of like a huge bowl of rice, a huge bowl of pasta, a huge bowl of potatoes, maybe a huge bowl of like chips, some fried vegetables, and some fried chicken. Like, I haven't really had anything healthy here yet. And you don't really order. It's like just kind of you sit down and they bring all this food to you. And it's huge portions. You'll never be hungry. So let me just show you the outside so you can get an idea of the architecture, because that's something that's really cool here. Okay. Hoping you can kind of see some of the mountains. So yeah, they always have a lot of decorative, even my door. You can see design. Okay, so I've been chatting for a while. I hope you kind of enjoyed this video. Maybe you're inspired to go to Bhutan. I will have a ton of posts coming out about it on my blog, jessieonajourney.com. That's JESSIE on journey.com. And if you have any questions, you can try to message me on Twitter. Or better option is to probably go to my site and email me through that. So hope you learned something.